Welcome to the In Focus podcast. I'm your host, Ken Ray. Join me as I dive into the captivating world of local photographers and videographers. In our upcoming episode, I'll be chatting with the talented Dakotah Cotten, unraveling his journey as a photographer and videographer, and gaining insights into the art of his visual storytelling. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the creative mind shaping our local visual landscape. Dakotah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, man. How you doing today?
Doing good. It's a little early for me, but I'm good.
I wear a CPAP, and do I still have a mark on my head?
A little bit.
And right here.
A little bit.
I could see it when I was doing my intros for you, and I was like, that looks great on camera. It's too early.
I probably need one. I remember when my wife was giving birth to our son and everything. I was sleeping on the couch, and the nurse was like, "Is he okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is he good?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get so reliant on that. So welcome to the CPAP podcast. Glad you're here. No, but
it's called the ADD podcast.
Yeah. Feel free to fast forward. That probably happens a lot. So I've got Liquid Death. I was doing Fiji waters, but now we're doing Liquid Death. I've never had one.
Neither have I.
So let's see who can do a better open. That was good. Okay. Yours is much better.
You just have more of a crunch to it.
Yeah, it did.
I drink water like once a month, so I mean, that's probably good for me.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Should I take water to me?
I was expecting
No
something
offense, Liquid
different.
Death. If you ever watch this, it just.
I mean, I was expecting something different. It's very.
I expected sparkling, to be honest. I expected bubbles.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I was expecting more like a LaCroix kind of deal.
Yeah. Liquid Death, and I'm like rubbing the skull. Well, great. And I think it's a lot cooler than Fiji. I don't feel so bougie.
Yeah.
Just, All right. Well, cool, man. Let's get right into it. So how would you describe your style and your approach to photography and videography?
So my style is more, and I hate to say this because anybody in the professional space cringes, but I go for more of a cinematic feel.
Oh, okay.
So it's more kind of dark and moody in a sense.
You mean you're not light and airy?
No, God forbid a wedding photographer not be light and airy.
My goodness.
No, I mean, I work with video and photo, so both being able to make them both look like they're one coherent thing is a big thing for me. So I like my photos to be a little bit more dark and moody, just like I like my videos to be a little bit more dark and moody. So for prep and we're in just rooms that are darker and things like that, you can go, oh, this looks like it's a still from my video.
Right.
And that's kind of what I like.
Okay. I love it. That's great, man. I think it's, you meet so many, it seems like everyone wants this light and airy feel to it.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for that kind of stuff. And being in the wedding space, you kind of learn how to do it all. I've done everything from light and airy to natural to where it looks very much not straight out of camera, but very much not tweaked with to a degree.
Right.
And then I've done the light and airy where the shadows are boosted and the blacks are boosted and everything's just kind of a little bit more whimsical in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I feel like my brain is so scattered today.
It happens.
Is my Do you ever have clients just
Yeah, no, I have clients that are
managing client expectation can be a challenge sometimes.
Oh yeah, I went to Colorado a couple months back, and in the middle of my vacation, I got a text message from a bride being like, "Hey, when's my video going to be done?"
Yeah.
And I literally sent her a picture of the mountains, being like, "Well, I'm not in the office right now. I'm a little bit far away, so I will check on that for you. But it's only been 3 weeks, so call me jets."
Okay. So now how to turn you down so you stop dinging.
Ding.
Trying to do a podcast here. Okay.
So you could also put it on airplane mode.
Yeah, that's probably what I need to do. So, funny or unique stories. Now, let's not name drop.
No.
Let's never name drop anything. But can you tell me a funny story? You were telling me one before we started. I thought that was really funny. So, I mean, Or just disasters that happen.
Ooh, I've got plenty of those.
Let's hear some of those.
That's some of those I
like
have.
those.
So my first wedding ever with are we name dropping companies?
No.
Like even our own.
No.
Okay.
No, I think just for safety.
So early on in my career as a photographer, I show up to a wedding at a big plantation. Super pretty, super expensive.
I
Just
know this
bougie. Oh yeah, I've definitely told it.
Yeah.
This bougie wedding. Well, I show up and I'm working with another photographer, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" We'd only met a couple times at this point. Mm-hmm. She's like, "Oh, I'm doing good," and blah 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 blah. We talk for maybe 30 seconds, and she goes, "Hey, side note, don't say anything, don't do anything, but the bride is cheating on the groom." And yeah. And so I was like, how do you know that? She's like, well, the sister of the bride told the coordinator. The coordinator told me, and now I'm telling you. And I was like, cool.
Cool.
So the whole day was on pins and needles. Like, oh, please, for the love of God, don't let this like come to light in the middle of the ceremony where some guy stands up and like, I object. But no, everything went smoothly that day. And
so they still got married?
They got married. And so a month or two goes by and I deliver her photos. She emails us saying, oh, these are great. Thank you very much. Well, fast forward about a year and we were working on an event for the sister of the groom. Well, we had done stuff for her in the past. We knew her like personally and stuff like that. And she was a super sweet lady. We were talking about something and somehow that couple came up. Mm-hmm. Well, turns out the marriage lasted 3 days.
Oh man.
We didn't want to pry more to be like, but our assumption is that the bride got a text or something happened and the groom found out, and during the honeymoon was like, I'm out.
Oh
I'm
man.
Done. Man. Yeah.
That's rough, man.
And then fist fights here and there. Normally we miss those though. Those are normally happen kind of like as we're walking out the door, or like we hear about them afterwards because we work with these venues so often. They're like, yeah, y'all walked out the door and immediately fists started flying. I was like, cool, nice. That's awesome.
Knew I should have left a camera in there.
I know. Get it in 60 slow-mo. Just
that'd be funny.
And then actually this past weekend we had it was very like boho wedding. It was very natural, very like there's flowers everywhere. They lit all these candles. It was very like not gothic, but like I said, boho, kind of natural theming. And during the middle of the speeches, I like turned to take a picture of the bride and groom, and I go like this, and all of a sudden I see out of the corner of my eye the flame get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, and I like pull my camera down and I realized one of the flowers had just like burst into flames. And I was like, that's cool. And I just like ripped it up and like just blew it out and like walked off with it. And the DJ was like, let's put our hands together for this, whoever the speaker was. And they were like, and for Dakotah, not letting us burn down.
Yeah.
And then apparently the ant caught on fire. Because there was like candles on the ground and stuff, and apparently her dress just was apparently flammable.
You got to be careful with the flowers, man. I mean, with the
candles.
With the candles, yeah.
They are. They're definitely nice visually, but a little bit of a hazard.
Man, that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I wasn't doing videography at the time. I was a chef in my first life, and I was at cooking at a country club, and big bougie weddings, and it was probably a $1 million something wedding going on, and the bride's father had a heart attack and died at the wedding as he was like giving her off.
Sweet Jesus.
And they ended up still getting married. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, spent $1 million, and
dude, like,
Dad did his job of like the last thing he did was bless this marriage. You kind of like,
my job is done. Jeez.
I just wow.
Oh man,
I couldn't imagine.
That's wild. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going out there.
How do you even like work that afterwards? Like, photos are just shot, videos just shot. Like, no one's partying. Like, it's
everybody's crying. Like,
yeah, they're crying. Like, maybe a celebratory like shot for like his life, like to Grandpa.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. like that wedding turned into like
pops.
to more like a
memorial service.
Yeah, real fast.
Real quick. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So you got some cameras with you today. What did you bring with you?
Yeah.
What goodies you got?
This is my kind of my workhorse.
Mm-hmm.
I use the A7R5. I put this fancy like skin on it to make it nice and pretty.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually it helps with like weather resisting.
What's
it.
the lotion
like
on?
Stupid. But yeah, this is my A7R5. They've only been out for about a year now. But I love it. It is a great photography camera.
Yeah.
Primarily, but it does shoot 4K 60, 4K 24. It even does 8K 24 if I remember correctly.
With the time limit though, right? I think it's like a 24-minute limit.
I don't know. I think it really depends on your SD card / if it can control the heat.
Right.
That much power, it's gonna get hot.
Any overheating issues?
No, I've never had any overheating issues.
We're so rarely we're shooting 8K. Man,
no, I've shot 8K as a test, just like on my son and stuff like that.
Negligible difference. Like you were just kind of like,
only kind of thing I had a problem with was just computer processing. It was just 8K is such huge files.
On a Mac or on a PC?
No, I have a custom built PC that I use. It's got all the bells and whistles, i9, 3080. It's 32 gigs of RAM. It's not the best computer in the world, but it does a great job. But it only chugged a little bit. It was just kind of like playing the footage. It was just like,
yeah.
But rendering it actually didn't take that long, but it was only like little clips here and there.
Sure.
And then I rendered it in 4K just because I had other clips in that little project I was working on that was 4K.
Yeah.
Which was interesting, but I've only used it that one time just because I don't really need it.
How many megapixels?
It is 60.
60
megapixel. That's one of the big reasons I do like this camera. I was in Austin one time and on like the straightaway of what's it called? Constitution Avenue.
Yeah.
We're basically like the big buildings at the bottom of it. And all I had was like a 50 on me. And I took my 50 and I was shooting miles. And I was able to crop in and make it super nice. Didn't have a whole lot of noise to it. Like it was super nice to be able to like have that ability to like manipulate the photo without it just getting destroyed.
Yeah. I always ask, you never just go touch a man's cameras and just pick it up.
Don't do it.
That's what there was a guy at my church, my old church, and he had a red Gemini. Just I don't know what you were doing at a church recording video with a red Gemini, whatever, but he's there doing that, and like that's a super expensive camera.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I did not process that me and him had no relationship of any kind, and I was like, cool man, let me see, and like,
oh,
and he was like, no, he's like, no, you can't touch it, and I was like, oh, it's right. We don't know each other. I was like, no, it's cool, man. Like, I know that's more than my car. Like, I got it,
Yeah.
Anyway, so always ask. I think it's important. One thing that I really love about this is this turns.
So yeah, it has a full like crazy screen setup. So it flips, turns, tilts, the whole nine.
And this is what I think is just really crazy is that you can still get this going on.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
and then you can flip it even when it's articulated like this. You can like, when you pull it out, you can like spin it. So if like you're really like shooting above for any reason.
Oh wow, yeah.
Then the screen still flips, yeah. And you can like, I've shot where I was like this basically.
Yeah.
Still just like.
I think that's such a cool feature, and I'm really hoping that they're going to continue to get with that feature.
So apparently, I don't know if you've kept up with
the A9.
The A9 III.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has the same setup as
global shutter.
Yeah, that's a wild.
Very cool.
I know you had Eric. I don't know what order this comes out or not, but
you'll be after Eric.
Yeah, I figured. Mm-hmm. But me and Eric, I remember there's a place that's if I said it, you would know exactly where I was talking about. But it's this like big garden place, and they have this. It's kind of a historical.
Was that the LSU Botanical Garden?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you can name drop
Okay.
venue. Yeah, no, that's
Oh, okay.
fine.
I was
Yeah,
like-
no, I'm just talking like if we're talking about like Grandpa catching on fire, I want to be like his name was Jim such and such. Like I don't.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like venues is fine. Like I want
Yeah.
I want them to get plugs and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So the Rural Life Museum, there's a building in there that when you come up and you're at the gardens, it's this like brick building that's just in there. Well, a lot of times our weddings, the bride and groom will have their like cake and their food and stuff in there. Well, when they do the cake cut, those lights are crazy. Me and Eric were in there one time, and the lights were so orange. We had our white balance cranked all the way down as low as it would go, and it was still orange on our footage. And the lights were at a frequency where it was just banding so bad.
So you're trying to adjust with your shutter.
Actually, we let it ride. It wasn't.
Oh, sometimes it's all you can do. You see that?
Yeah.
I see that a lot with the neons that people get.
Oh, yeah.
They'll just order, I guess, from Etsy or whatever, and they're paying not. And I get it, brides are trying to save money, whatever. But they don't even think like, oh, it's a cheap LED. Like they don't care, you know. But on our cameras, you can see that flickering happening because it's not.
Oh yeah.
You know, and we've worked at some venues. Won't name drop this one. You know what I'm talking about, though, where they have the little lights out on the trees, right, and it always flickers.
I knew
right?
exactly
You know
which one you were talking
right.
about.
So
before you
here's
even said it.
here's an example of not name dropping that. So like, but it always flickers, and we've got to adjust for that just because they're cheap lights, and they don't know any better. I mean, I wouldn't expect.
99% of places won't. I've worked at a few venues actually. One cannot remember the name of it, but it was out in Lafayette. The owner used to be a photographer and a videographer, and so they like checked all their lights before putting it up, and it's like super white in there, super balanced. Like it's all. The only thing that was a little rough was it gets very dark in there.
Yeah.
So the video was a little rough, but it was a beautiful, beautiful venue. And you kind of wouldn't expect it where it is. It looks just like a standard building, but like when you walk in, it's just like completely transformed. There's like the draped things, and it's all white, and it's all beautiful and everything. And I was like, this is neat.
So so you're using G Master 2 on this?
Yeah, so that's the 24-70 G Master 2, and then I have the Polar Pro. What's it? Ring, I guess. So you can actually slap on with a magnetic.
Who's the maker?
Polar Pro.
Polar Pro. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you literally just said that.
They collab with the Peter McKinnon with that kind of
I thought
stuff.
that was his logo. Shout out to Peter McKinnon. Big info. I love Peter McKinnon. I think he's fantastic.
I've bought too much of his stuff.
Yeah. You're welcome, Peter. So I love that one of the really cool features about this is just how sharp this lens looks. Actually, you had loaned this to Eric. We were at a wedding, and I've got like my Sigma lens on. Not that there's anything wrong with Sigma; they're great, and I will continue to buy their lenses.
Yeah.
But I just happened something was going on, and I just happened to pick it up and start shooting something, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, what are his settings on this? Like, what is happening right now? And I went back and looked at my camera, and I was like, is my camera broken? Because the same body, it's A7S3 that I was using at the time. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And I realized that it was the lens that was making it look tasty like that. Like it's tasty.
That's one thing about these. Like I cannot explain it. It's just like, it's super crisp, super like.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah. It's one of those things. And I'm a big like believer in like, some people may gawk at this. Some people may be kind of like, whatever, or like they're so pricey, I can't justify the look, or blah 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 blah. Which I get. People are balling on a budget sometimes, but there's a certain. I'm a big believer of like things that are built for something. So like the Sony lenses are built for Sony cameras. Like they're just gonna look better. They're gonna be better. Like a lot of times, in my opinion, with stuff. And that's kind of how I buy most of my stuff. Like, oh, that was specifically built for that. That's not like a Nikon version and a Fuji version and a blah, 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 blah. Like a lot of times when it's like built, like, okay, they built this lens for their lineup.
Right.
It's not meant for anybody else, not meant for anything else. It's just Sony.
Yeah. And it's a good looking lens. And
it's pretty light too with the G Master 2. That was one of the big things for it too, is compared to the first one, it's like 30% lighter. Yeah. Which is nice, especially when we're running and gunning wedding photographer and videographers. Like it's nice to not have that extra weight. Like when you have a harness on, or if you're running just a strap, like not having that weight just all day long.
So Yeah. So how did you get started in photography?
So I have a kind of an interesting backstory. I started off as a Twitch streamer and did the whole video game thing a little bit before COVID. I was doing it probably a year before COVID happened. So I was not like, hey, the world shut down. Let me now start streaming. I had already like had a fan base and all this kind of stuff going on. Not a huge streamer, but a decent amount that I had like, I always had people to talk to and had multiple friend groups that we were all streaming together. We'd all bounce off of each other and having fun and playing Call of Duty or playing whatever big game was out at the time, kind of having that fun stuff. And then one day I just kind of had like an epiphany moment of like, I think I enjoy the production of it all and like setting it up, like setting up my camera and setting up the lights and making everything pretty and like making it all look professional and like the graphic work and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, Twitch is paying me, but not a lot. I'm not one of the big streamers. So I'm going to try to be a photographer, like an actual photographer. At the time I was using a Nikon. I didn't even have a lens that was built for my camera. I was using like the DSLR versions with like an adapter and all this kind of craziness. And I was like, I'm going to try to be a photographer. So I hit up one of our friends me and my wife's friends that was a wedding photographer. She's awesome. Ashley Riddle. And I feel like I lied to her, to be honest. I feel like, I've shot photography before. And she's like, I'm really in need of a photographer, like a second shooter. Can you come shoot with me? And I was like, yeah, gotcha. Like I can do this. And at this point, like I had kind of like been fiddle farting around, like around family or friends, or like just taking pictures of the baby. And everybody always told me like, oh, you're so good at this. Like you should definitely like try to do something with it, blah, 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 blah. Man, I was humbled very quickly. Now that I especially now that I know more than I especially did back then, I show up to this event, had no flash, and we're in a dark barn in the middle of nowhere.
Oh no, that's
and I was like, this. I kept hearing about how great these mirrorless cameras are, and blah 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 blah, and how they're much better in low light. And I was like, I'm just gonna crank my ISO to oblivion and just went whoop. And I remember her being like, "You don't have a flash?" I was like, "No, this camera can handle the dark. It can handle the dark." Dude, everybody looked like clay. Everything.
Born of the dark.
Yeah, no, it was bad. Like the ISO cranked that high. Like people, it was so much
grainy.
noise.
Yeah.
Everything looked like.
What were you shooting on?
A Nikon Z6,
which is a very good camera.
Oh yes, but when you don't have the proper equipment,
right.
I was using like. I didn't fully understand f-stop and shutter speed.
Does that operate in native ISO? Like, does it have dual ISOs?
Not dual.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
And I don't think Photo actually has, and I could be wrong. I'm not the know-all-be-all, but I'm pretty sure Photo actually doesn't have a dual ISO.
Yeah.
It's only a video thing.
Let us know in the comments. I mean, I'm not, I like that we're both like, I'm not,
Yeah, no, I looked it up recently, and from what I could tell online, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Most cameras don't have a dual ISO when it comes to photo. That's a video thing primarily.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I know nothing about photo. I only dabble in the video realm, my niche.
But, so then I did that wedding, and then I ended up being like, I enjoyed that. That was fun. Not fully realizing how bad my photos were at the time. And so I got with Complete, and I interviewed, did the whole process, and they were like, hey, we actually need videographers.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I mean, one step to the left, but okay, it's not really what I want to do. But
and we interviewed on the same day. I think. Well, no, we didn't interview the same day. We went in for training on the same day, and we've both been there
ever since.
Yeah.
We went in training, met, became friends pretty much that day.
Yeah.
Because we're both very talkative. We were just like,
Yep.
And also you had all the fun shiny toys, so I wanted to play and get to.
And then you quickly outmatched that.
I just have newer toys. I think you still have more than I do.
I mean, I might, but I mean, we're like,
we're not
I mean, we might, but you have definitely, grown in just leaps and bounds. And I mean,
Yeah,
you're investing into your career. I mean, that's how I look at it. Like, and that brings me to like collaboration. You know, when I got into this, I used to think that like it was a competition, and I've come to realize, and this is probably just something cheesy you read on Facebook, but competition happens at the bottom and collaboration happens at the top. You know, I think that's super important. Like when you start out, you're like, oh yeah, everybody's my It's like, no, if you're really doing the deal, it's like, man, you're not my competition. Like we work together. Like we were all eating. Like everyone needs photos, videos,
That's
podcasts.
I have a little bit of a hot take on certain things of like being on both sides of the photo and video world. Like there is so many times shooting video, and it frustrates me because I see it as a videographer that like I'll be shooting video. There's a lot of photographers that are just like, I'm here to do my job, and I am here, and they just like walk in front of your camera. They just don't care about nothing.
Yeah.
And like
we talk about that a lot on this podcast, actually, about, you know, and funny enough, most of the photographers that come on this podcast are people that I've like met at weddings who are super cool, you know, and most of them show up on this podcast at some point. It's like a surplus of people.
Oh yeah.
But there are the few that just do not, they're more concerned about getting what they need rather than the overall vision of like what we're here to do. Like we're all on the same team here.
Yeah, we're all together. We're all trying to like. I've literally let photographers borrow my lenses on a shoot because I've been like, "Oh, you shoot Sonny? Here's a super expensive 50 millimeter 1.4.
Absolutely.
1.2.
Yeah,
1.2. And I'm like, try it, like give it a shot. And I've been super nice with them and all this kind of stuff.
You need batteries. Here you go.
I have,
absolutely.
When they are on our side and we're on their side, it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a good day.
Phenomenal day.
Absolutely.
Because you know, we're like, hey, what's your number? Everybody's friends, but like, if you just act like the video team is just like, bleh, I'm like, I don't. We're working together.
That's what led a lot to me doing this podcast was that I wanted to like shine a light on like how we're all in community together. You know, it's not there may be people who come in and like they're just trying to strong arm everybody, but those people don't stay here. Like they don't stay in this business. Like they may get a couple of seasons in. They're doing stuff for super cheap. And they quickly find out that like that it's not sustainable. Because I mean, I was doing weddings for like at one time for free for my friends to build a portfolio, and then I was like $750, and then so on and so forth, and that, you know, my average prices are like $3,000 now, which is not absurd. You know, I know people who charge 10. You know,
I got friends that I know a guy, super great videographer. Like he's really really good, like really really good, but his prices start at $4,000.
Yeah, absolutely. You get what you pay for.
Yeah,
you know?
No, that's definitely the case.
Yeah, and
that's another thing that I kind of have a hot take on. Of like, there's certain things in weddings that I think brides shouldn't skimp out on, and I see it too often that they're like, "Yeah, I just I kind of want this, I kind of want that, but like I want it for like $5." And I'm like, okay,
no.
Like you got to know that these certain things, like, these things aren't cheap.
Right.
And our time,
and when you have 4 of them.
Yeah, no, I literally have 2 of these. I have an A7S3, and then I have all the top of line lenses and more SD cards and batteries than I know what to do with.
Absolutely.
We literally,
me and you have an army of stuff. Like,
yeah, we shoot and there's like 3 or 4 S3s, 2 R5s, the FX30,
just for fun.
Yeah, we're just like, we got more cameras than we know what to do with. Like, we really like, how many did we have again the other day?
Yeah. And, you know, and that kind of makes me think about, like, the day rates that people charge, like, in commercial work and stuff like that. And, you know, I had a lady call me the other day. I was bidding on a job, and she was saying, you know, I don't know why I keep getting such wildly different prices. And I said, well, I think we just need to hone in a little bit on what you're looking for, because, like, a beginner-level videographer is going to be around $350 to $500. A intermediate is probably going to be $750. Semi-professional will probably be, I don't know, maybe I guess that would be intermediate, and then professional is going to be probably $1,000 to $1,500 on for their day rate, for their 8-hour day.
Yeah.
I typically go in the $750 range because I don't know, maybe that's just imposter syndrome or whatever. Because it's like, dude, you have this, like, you're definitely in the professional range, like, you know.
I feel that way too sometimes.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. It's a real thing, man.
Yeah,
Like,
so many times I'll be like in the office or doing whatever with people, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah, why am I here? Yeah,
No, but
I'm
I've
literally just faking it.
I've shot hundreds of weddings at this
Yeah,
point, and
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got more 5-star reviews and happy
Yeah.
clients, and people texting me being like, "Hey, my Jim Bob cousin is getting married, and we loved you so much," and blah 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 blah. Like we have all these people that like have loved our stuff, but at the same time, we're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm crying inside.
Yeah. Help me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that like, no matter how good you are, it's like just being an artist. Like most artists feel the same way, like with painters or anything. Like it's an art in a sense. So you're like, it's all subjective. So you're just like, I think it's good, maybe, possibly, sort of, kind of. I don't know.
I know that the clients that I have are except for maybe the 1% that I've had and which we'll all have, everyone has been very happy and they like what they get. And and that kind of brings me to my next question of what advice would you give someone starting out in photography or videography? Mine is, definitely have the client look at your portfolio. If you don't have a portfolio, go build one. I think that's super important. But what advice would you
So
give?
you're asking like as if like it's a
If someone came to you and said, "Hey, man, I'm just getting into this. How do I get to the level you're at? Like, what does it look like?"
second shoot. Second shoot, second shoot, second shoot. There is Facebook pages. There's probably still a MySpace page somewhere out there that's got wedding photographers like,
Totally.
hey, I need a second shooter. Hey, I need blah, blah, blah. Seeing how the professionals, because none of us are professionals. Well, every one of us, even people that I know that have been doing this forever and that are like done thousands of weddings at this point have been like, I still don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah.
Just happy to be here.
Yeah, see how they do it. I mean, there's companies you can work for that have basically like subcontract you out. There's also like I said, the Facebook pages where you can go find it, and they're like, yeah, my husband is only my second shooter, and he's out sick, or we couldn't babysitter bailed. Like we've had weddings that come in literally their videographer bailed on them an hour before their wedding.
Yeah.
And I just happen to have all my gear charged and everything, and I was like, I can be there in 45 minutes. So I just like threw on clothes, and just took off down the road and shot their wedding. So like things like that happen. I mean, Same thing with like, people get in car wrecks. They get like a fender bender. They're gonna be 2 hours late. They can't be 2 hours late. It's a wedding day. So like,
yeah, and I mean,
fast.
let's look at like my past a little bit. And for those who don't know, I had I had some stomach issues and ended up having a perforation in my intestine and was at a wedding and ended up like going down. And the worst nightmare is having to go to a bride on her wedding day and be like, hey, I think I'm about to die.
Yeah.
Like, I think I need to go. Like, I have to go to the emergency room.
I remember that happening because it was...
I was in Atlanta previously, the couple days before, and I was like, oh, in case I miss my flight, can we have someone on standby? And you just happened to be prepared. And then that happened, and you were like, oh, well, I've already got all my gear anyway, and you were able to jump in and save me.
Yeah, no, I literally threw everything in the back of my car, and I was not far from you guys, luckily. And I remember getting the call being like, so Ken's dying. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. And this is why it's so important to have a team. And this is what made me go from doing my own weddings to shooting specifically with Complete, is that there's a team that has your back there.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Like, that takes a huge amount of pressure off, to have that, because again, that's my worst nightmare.
Oh yeah, no, I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, I am petrified of being late on a wedding day.
Totally.
I will show up an hour early and just sit in my car for 15, 20 minutes, just be like,
absolutely. And I usually show up early anyway, and I love to go in there, and that's helped a lot with like the overall day, is to go in there and just be like, oh no, I'm here early, I'm just gonna sit down, like, and just BS with y'all, like, and just say, hey, how you doing? I've never formally got to meet you. How you doing? How's your day going? Blah blah blah. And that kind of eases their mind. I can read the room. There's no pressure. I can just casually, sip liquid death and sip my liquid death and just get ready and for the day. So, that's fun.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. I mean, I it helps my anxiety a little bit, and
Totally.
not I say anxiety. I just
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it takes stress off a little bit to be able to like go in there and be like, "Hi guys, how's it going?" And not immediately be like, "All right, I'm here," throwing
Right.
gear all over
Yeah.
the place,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
be like,
All right, get ready. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
"Lock and load."
Yeah. Well, cool. Let's talk about this Leica M6 here for a second before we get to our rapid fire round.
So this is kind of my passion. I just not passion project. I'm very much one of those guys that likes to understand everything that I do, or like all the options or different variations and stuff like that. So I recently got a Leica M6. I actually got it like 3 days ago. So I just sent off my first roll of film ever. I actually shot it at a wedding. I actually shot 2 films. I shot the Cinestill 400. I think it's 400D.
That's heavy.
Oh, it's got some weight to it, man. And then I also shot the 800. And for y'all that don't know film stuff, the 400 is the ISO of the film, so it's dependent on how sensitive to light it is. So, like, with these, we can change our ISO all day, every day.
Yeah.
With these, the ISO is like set on the film. Like, you can't just change that.
Oh wow.
So, like, in dark scenarios, if you don't have the right film, you're just out of luck. Sorry, buckaroo.
Wow.
So I shot the 400 during daytime. I shot the 800, which is basically equivalent to like having 800 ISO on your photos.
Cool.
At night, just to see. I've seen the 800 used on like a lot of neon lights and stuff at nighttime.
Yeah.
Granted, it's light, so I don't know how well. Yeah. I also have a flash that I put on this thing with the Leica is it SP or SF60. I can't remember right now. Like I said, had it for about 5 days or 3 days, so it's like don't know all of it. But
Well, and we're starting to see an uptick in people wanting rolls again. Like it's very popular, but a little bit more costly because you've got to send the rolls off. You got to do all the stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Not everybody has to buy a extremely expensive Leica camera. There's a lot of other film, like some people I know that shoot film. They are set up as like the camera was maybe $200. The lens was an extra like 100, and like this setup is way more expensive.
yeah,
Leica is very proud of their stuff.
Yeah.
Granted, it is great. I have other features in my camera that they don't have in theirs, which you wouldn't think would be the case with film. It's very bare bones kind of stuff, but like I have a light meter in this one where other cameras don't, and this is kind of one of those cameras that you keep forever and you die with it in your hands, being like, I bestow this upon my son. And then I have a 50 millimeter on here that goes down to 1.4, the Summilux lens, so everything has Leica branded and pretty and nice and everything.
Yeah.
But
you ought to build a dark room.
I thought about it. I'm waiting a minute because this is gonna be my daily carry.
Right.
Because like as much as I love my Sony stuff, like this is size difference.
Yeah.
Big Bertha.
Yeah.
Little buddy. So it's like carrying this around all the time, especially like my 85 and 50, like those lenses are big for being a prime. Like they are big lenses. Yeah. So like carrying this around in my bag or carrying this around or just around my neck, like I'm going to have neck problems by the time I'm 30, which is later this year.
Totally.
So I having something smaller like this, something compact, something I can like, the more I use it, the quicker I'll be with it. Because obviously there's no autofocus. It's all manual with this thing right here.
Yeah.
I think learning how to do certain things and like being quicker with it, like I'll be able to maneuver this not as quickly, but pretty quick.
Yeah. And do you see a difference in the quality of picture?
Well, I have
We'll
not. Yeah, we'll see, because I have not. I've seen photos of the film that I've used.
Yeah.
And it looks really cool. It looks. I know some film is actually like legit film from like a movie set and stuff like that they repurpose in a 35 millimeter. I can't remember if that's the case with Cinestill, but I will say this much, kind of like I said earlier, which I hate this term, cinematic.
Right.
The stills I've seen of this film stock ends up looking very cinematic if the lighting's right and kind of stuff like that. All that factors into it. But I do like the way that it normally comes out. I sent it out yesterday, so we'll see.
Yeah. It's very cool.
The next couple days.
Very cool. Well, cool, man. All right, so we're going to head into the rapid fire round as we close this out. Favorite location in your local area to shoot?
Ooh.
Gotta be quick, 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 quick.
I
Come on,
guess
come on, come on.
I like White Oak Plantation. That's a really cool one. And
Sure.
then also, what's it called? Highland Road Park is really nice too because it actually has like hills, rolling hills, and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice. Best time of day for a photographer or videographer to shoot?
Golden hour. Yeah,
That's
that's
I need to change that question. Every single person's been like golden hour, and I'm like, yeah, no.
5 daylight savings. I
Yeah,
got.
your go-to lens, your go-to camera and lens combination.
A7R5 with the 85 1.4. I've been really digging that one for a while now.
Very good. And your top tip for editing photos and videos effectively?
Batch editing. So especially with photo, in a sense, we have you can, depending on if you're using Lightroom Classic or Lightroom, you can do just basically copy and paste all your settings to all your photos, and so you're not having to like Control C all over and over and over again for the 1,000 photos you deliver to a client.
Sure.
So that's the quickest, in my opinion. That's the most useful tool. I've shown so many editors that, and they're like, "I'm sorry, you can do what?"
Yeah.
And they just lose their mind.
So how can people find you, Dakotah? If they're trying to get in touch with you, if they'd like to work with you, you want to do a plug for yourself, or
Sure, I am primarily on Instagram, Dakotah Cotten Photography. I don't know the be a graphic.
spell
anywhere.
Dakotah. I can put a graphic up for you.
Dakotah is Dakotah. Cotton, Cotten, and then photography.
Very good.
And it's pretty
Straightforward.
point, yeah.
I love it. Very good. So they can find you on Instagram, you said?
Yes, primarily on there. I've played around with Facebook and Instagram in the past, just never really
Sure.
stuck with it.
Yeah.
So Instagram is something I try to post at least once a week nowadays to show off my photos.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing your Leica pictures.
Yeah, I'm excited to share those.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks so much for coming on, man. We'll look forward to having you again. So.